Should I put it on? Should I put it? Nah. Yeah? I have a confession to make. I am deeply in love with Grace Helbig. Hello everyone and happy Sunday. It's that day of the week again. Anyway, today I have a story to tell you all. So in case you weren't already aware, I do this special program through my local hospital where I get to shadow doctors all day. And for someone that wants to be a doctor, that is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful thing to have. But for someone that thinks they want to be a doctor and then realizes a few weeks later that they're not going to be a doctor, it's kind of a pain in the butt. Anyway, a few weeks ago I was really lucky and I got to actually see a C-section. It was pretty life-changing, not gonna lie. But a lot of people are like, Aaron, what was your C-section like? That just made it sound like I had a C-section. I didn't have a C-section. I just got to be in the room and watch it happen. But anyway, today I'm gonna tell you all about my C-section experience. Watching one, not getting one. When I was asked if I wanted to see a C-section, I absolutely hopped on that chance. At first, I was like, but then I realized, you know what, YOLO swag, no regrets, I don't want to regret this. So I got to the hospital on Thursday at 8:30 and I went into the birthing center. I got to scrub up and become an official doctor person. You know, I get called Doogie Howser a lot. I don't know if any of you get that reference. I pretty much get it every day, whether it's from a patient or a doctor or a nurse. Someone always just calls me Doogie Howser and I'm like, Anyway, so once I was scrubbed up, I headed into the ER. I was in no way prepared for what I was walking into. Holy no way, honey. I'm not trying to be a dick when I say this. It's just kind of, I personally could not really tell that she was pregnant. It was not obvious that the woman was pregnant. So then they drugged her up. They gave her a bunch of drugs in her spine. There's a lot of anesthesiology, anesthetics. She was completely conscious throughout the entire thing, which I had no idea was going to be going on. But when she was all drugged up, she was lying down, they cleaned her off, and they set up the site for the operation. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I can't even begin to tell you. It was absolutely one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life, but it was also one of the most terrifying and gruesome things I've ever done in my entire life. And I was standing off in the corner the entire time. I get privileges, but I'm not the one taking the baby out of the uterus. Heck no. The first thing they did, they cut an incision in her and they used this tool that, although it is very genius, it was my downfall of the day. Literally burned the skin as it cut it open, so like it cauterized the flesh as they made the incision so that there wasn't blood gushing everywhere. There was smoke coming out of it, and it did smell like burning flesh. Was not a fun time. That was me in the corner. Definitely the worst part of the entire thing. Anyway, once they made the first incision, which was actually only about this long, like her torso was like this wide, the incision was like this long. Then the doctors kind of like one of them grabbed one end and one of them grabbed one end, and they kind of like pulled all their weight back and they were like stretching it out. And then they kind of started stuffing the turkey, as I liked to analogize it. They just kind of shoved their hand in, some stuff out, and then they took some scissors and they cut some stuff, and they cut through all the abdomen muscles, and they cut through everything else, and then they took out this giant pink meaty gumball, the uterus, I believe. Let me just interject right here that it was about this point in time that I started to get really lightheaded because I had actually began holding my breath, but I didn't realize I was holding my breath, so I just kind of stopped breathing because it smelled so bad in the room. So my brain was a little bit cloudy. Boom! Out of nowhere comes a crying, screaming baby, like literally just like that. It was like not there, and then a baby. Wow, it was an experience. Another thing that I had no idea was it only took them, I think, 13 minutes to get the baby out. Snip, 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 pull, oh look, a baby. I needed to sit down because, again, I had stopped breathing and was kind of swaying back and forth. I know I got really pale, and I know I probably looked like I was gonna die. I wasn't gonna die. And then they started shoving everything back inside that mama, and then they stitched it right up. There was a lot of blood everywhere. There was a lot of smells everywhere. The baby was actually kind of stuck in the mom when they were taking it out, so they had to use a kiwi to pull it out. Yes, I said a kiwi. No, I don't mean a fruit. Little vacuum thing, and they literally just kind of suction it on there and just yank out the baby. Bada bing, bada boom, child. Hello, welcome to the world. And then the nurse was like, hey daddy-o, do you want to cut this umbilical cord? And he kind of just was like, And then the nurse was like, hey Aaron, do you want to cut this umbilical cord? That is not my job. And then the mom was all stitched up, she was taken out, the baby was wrapped up and taken out. An hour later, they were done, and everybody was out of the operating room. I don't know, I thought that C-section was gonna take like 6 hours. I don't freaking know anything. My advice to anyone, try not to get a C-section because you will be sore the next morning from being a stuffed turkey. Don't have kids until you're ready because that's not a good way to live your life. Alright, so I think that's it for this week, guys. I know it was a little bit different, but I hope you enjoyed my story. It was an absolutely amazing thing to be able to experience, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm so glad that I don't ever have to go through childbirth. I give you props, ladies. Alright, so I will see you guys next Sunday, and until then, stay fetch, stay ratchet, stay brutal, stay awesome, stay sassy, stay classy, stay current, and stay dirty.